Again, this is a webinar for the SX10 data, looking at it in Trimble Business Center. Just a quick overview of Keystone Precision Instruments. We were founded in 1989. We are well over 40 employees strong, operating the entire Northeast. And in addition to serving equipment, we also work with construction equipment, rentals, repairs, and training of the instruments that we sell. We look to work with our business partners, with our customers, so that they can grow their construction and serving capabilities, as well as their knowledge base. And again, this is just a few items that that we work with, some laser levels all the way from the mechanical transits all the way up to scanners, UAS, and GPS systems. These are some of the business partners that we work with consistently. So let's switch over here to Trimble Business Center. So as before, if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat box. I am a one-man show today, so I will get to them as soon as I am able. So this here is Trimble Business Center. This is Trimble Business Center version 4.0. I believe this week Trimble is releasing the next version of Trimble Business Center, which will be version 4.1 if it's not out already. And in that version, there's going to be some enhanced features of the point cloud, vertical surfaces, some tunneling applications. So look forward to those. But today we're going to look at some of the basic tools that are in Trimble Business Center that will allow you to work with the point cloud. So once you've collected your data with the SX10, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to take your data file and you will drag and drop the job file into Trimble Business Center. So this here is the job file, and this cell tower files is a project we'll be looking at today. This file here contains all the imagery as well as all the scan data from the SX10. So as long as this file and this folder are contained in the same folder like I have here, a simple drag and drop of this job file will import everything into the job. I've already done that. So upon import, the project will come in and the point cloud will be colorized based on the images from the SX10. Once the project is in, you can see here I have 2 control points, as well as I took a reflectorless shot, and we'll take a look at all that here in a minute. Over here on the right hand side I have my Project Explorer shown, and in this Project Explorer it will allow you to view your photo stations, which is exactly what it sounds. This here is a photo station that allows you to look at the photos that were taken from the SX10. This here was, as if you remember from last month's webinar, the SX10 has multiple cameras, and you can zoom into a feature object or whatever is an area of interest for you. This here was just on the overview camera. So you can open up these views right here. In addition to, if you're looking to open up a 3D view by going to your View tab and clicking on 3D view, you will open up a 3D view, which will allow you to see the point cloud in 3 dimensions as it was shot in the field. So this here is a small project today, and I chose to do a small project simply because it allows for the processing time and things like that to go quicker, and it'll allow me to cover more things in a short amount of time. So this was just a small project. I was looking to scan a cell tower for a customer so they could see, what level of detail could be gotten from it. So that's what we're going to take a look at today. In the Filter View Manager, it allows you to do multiple things. It allows you to turn the scans on and off. It allows you to turn off point cloud regions, which we'll create here in a minute. It will also allow you to turn off some of these vector lines. So it really gives you control over what visual things you can and cannot see in in Trimble Business Center. So as an example, if I wanted to turn off all the scans, by clicking this box here, all these scans, they have disappeared. And likewise, if I check the box, all the scans will reappear. So that allows you in the Scan World Explorer, in the Filter View Manager, it allows you to be able to do those types of things. So today we're going to concentrate mainly on the Point Cloud tab here. So we're going to take a look at things like the limit box. We're going to take a look at creating regions, classifying a point cloud, taking some points into AutoCAD, things of that nature. So let's take a look at, before we jump right into there, let's take a look at some of the imagery that can be collected from the SX10. So this data set here from Scan Station 1, you can see I have multiple, you'll see multiple boxes here using the different cameras from the SX10. Now you'll notice here that you'll see some tiling going on in your imagery, and there is a process up here through the process panoramas that will allow you to remove some of that tiling. This one here, I purposely didn't do it just so that you could see what the tiling looked like. And in addition, I had the SX10, because I was taking multiple images from the different cameras in the scanner, I had the SX10 check the exposure before every shot. If we move to the second station, which is down here, and look at these images, you'll notice that the tiling is gone for the most part. And this here, I just picked one exposure, so you can kind of see the difference between the two. An option you have if you want to process these panos, you can click on the Process Panos button. And by selecting these two boxes here, which is balance the exposure of all the images and blend the edges together, this process will do that. So I'm just going to do it for that station that we're in here. So I'm going to hit the Process button. Sometimes this will work very well, and sometimes when it balances the exposure, if you have a lot of clouds like I did on a day like today, it could make things very bright or very dark. So you can do this process, look at the imagery, and if you deem it to be better before you process the images, you can certainly take it back. It's not a big deal to do that. You just deselect the boxes and reprocess, and it'll put it back to the original state. So once it's done, you can see here that whoops, sorry about that. You can see here that you lost a lot of the blue sky, but maybe your area of interest, such as the cell towers and things like that, are a little bit more clear. So this here got rid of all the tiling effect, as well as blended all of it to be one exposure. So if I go back to this Scan Station 1 here, you'll notice here that there's looks like different pictures were taken from the SX10, which is exactly right. If we zoom in here a little bit, you'll notice that I've taken, I believe, 4 images. These orange outlines are the outlines of the image that was taken. So as you zoom in and change the level of the camera on the SX10, when you bring it into TBC, you'll have these orange boxes to denote the area of the extent of that image that was taken. So as you zoom in here, you can see there's a lot of things going on with this cell tower, and I'm going to turn off so it doesn't look quite as grainy. I'm going to turn the scans off for the moment. So if you zoom in here, you can see this box, and this is a little higher detailed box. I believe this was on level 6, if I remember correctly from doing this. You can really zoom in there, and you can see that these cameras are very detailed. You can zoom in, and you can see these exact connectors that are going up on these cell towers and these chrome pieces here. So you can zoom in fairly well and see a lot of detail at a pretty far distance away. I zoom out here a little bit, I also took a shot an image on this water tower here. This water tower here is about 6,800 feet away from where the SX10 was located. So you can see here that these images are very clear, even at that great distance. So that's taking a look a little bit at the different images that you can get from the SX10. So let's dive into the point cloud here a little bit and see what can we do with the point cloud. So I'm going to come into my 3D view and I'm going to turn my scans back on. And the first thing that I like to typically do with the point cloud is I like to classify the point cloud. And when I classify the point cloud, what that's going to do is it's going to classify the point cloud into different regions. The different regions are buildings, grounds, high vegetation, poles and signs, and power lines. So we have a fair amount of those objects going on here. So in order to do that, I'm going to select the point cloud, and the point cloud turns orange, so you know that it's selected. And up here in the upper right hand corner you can see that the point cloud was selected. I'm going to hit extract. This will take about a minute or so. Naturally, if you have more scans, this is going to take a longer period of time to do. But once it's done, you'll now notice that the point cloud changed from the colors of the point cloud to the different regions that it's selected. And you'll notice down here in the filter view manager, you now have classifications for default, buildings, grounds, and high vegetation. So if we zoom in here a little bit, you'll notice that there's a building on this site here, which now is blue. The ground is brown, naturally. The high vegetation is green. So especially in a case like this with some of these surrounding trees, it did a real good job on these trees, but it also thought that this pole here was a tree. So in that case there, you would just have to put it on another region. And also this cell tower here, it didn't know what to do with it, so that's on the default. So if I turn the default layer off, everything that it didn't classify now resides on the default layer. So so that I think is a good start to be able to work with your point cloud. So a lot of times surveyors will create topographical surveys, contours, if you will, from the point cloud. So in order to do that, that can be done very easily in Trimble Business Center. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off everything except for the ground. And you can see here there's some curbing here, as well as some ground features. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the point cloud, and I'm going to, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to sample the region. So typically you don't need, if you're creating 1 foot contours as an example, which I think is something most surveyors will do, I don't know that you need a data point every 2-3 inches apart. What will wind up happening is that your contours are going to look like an EKG, if you will. They'll be very jagged, be very accurate, but for 1 foot contours, I don't know that you need that. So this here will allow you to sample the point cloud region and make it a little bit more manageable. So you have the option for spatial or random. I typically like to do spatial. And in this case here, I think having a data point every 5 foot is going to be more than adequate to create contours. So I'm going to hit store. And now you'll see here that right now there's a data point every 5 foot based off the point cloud. And you'll notice over here in the point cloud regions, you now have a region called contour 5 foot, meaning that there's a data point every 5 feet. So if you're looking to create contours, you can click on the point cloud, come over to surface, your Surface tab, create surface, and I'm just going to call it EG for existing ground. Hit apply and OK. And there's your surface, all based off the point cloud of that 5-foot spacing. Oops, sorry about that. So right now, if I click on here, you'll be able to see the tin mesh underneath it. And there's your tin mesh. And naturally in here at this point you can take this tin mesh and you can export it out to another CAD program via DWG file or DXF, or you can even create contours in here. And I don't have any specific style set up for the contours, but if I come back in here to surface, I can say create contours, and it's going to give me a bunch of different options, which you typically see in any CAD program. So I'm just going to give it a 1-foot contour interval and just make a new layer, and we'll call it contour. And we'll make them magenta just so they stick out. And down here it gives you the maximum and minimum elevation and how many number of contours. So I probably have a high spot still sticking out there somewhere, probably right in this area here, that we could certainly edit out. I'm just going to throw some labels on the end. Let's just put 500 feet so they don't. We'll say OK. And now there's contours created for this site. I don't know. Maybe if I turn off the existing surface here. Turn off the surface a second, and now you can see that it created those contours. So yeah, so that high spot's a little bit in here, but I think you certainly get the idea of how simple it can be to create contours directly from the point cloud with doing and you have so much data that this is certainly going to minimize the amount of break lines that you need to create your final deliverable. So there are your contours. And again, I know we briefly talked about it in other webinars, but if you have some sort of AutoCAD template, that AutoCAD template can be brought into Trimble Business Center so that all your line types will look the same. So when you create that final deliverable, it's a seamless transition between the two pieces of software. So it's a pretty quick deliverable that you can create. So let's turn the point cloud back on. And let's turn off these contours here for the time being. All right, so there you go. If you would like to take the point cloud and put it back to its original, looking at it in another view, if you will, and kind of get rid of the greens and the browns from these colors, you can easily come back into your point cloud tab and come in. Oh, I gotta move my box here. And you can make your point cloud viewed in a multiple different ways. So this here is a grayscale view, which can be very beneficial if you scan maybe a parking lot or something like that and you need to create a base plan for the parking lot. Those white paint lines will pop out really good in that scenario. You can even see it here as where this here is the asphalt and this here is curbing, and you can see the different shades there very easily. You can also view, and one of the ones that I like most is the color coded intensity. This here I think is very easy to draft from because you have a lot of different colors, and that color-coded intensity is all based off of the color of the object that's being scanned. So if we remember, that's when it scans, the scanner does not know what it's scanning. It just knows that it's shooting out a laser, it's hitting an object, and it's getting a return. But because there's so many points on here, we can certainly denote where the fences are, the curbing, the buildings, the satellite dish there, cell towers, whatever. So based on the color of that, your blues and your lighter colors are going to be blues and yellows, and then items such as asphalt, darker grasses, things like that, they're going to be more of the oranges and reds, and that's exactly what you see here. So it's you can look at the color of the point cloud in different colors so that you can see exactly what's going on. You also have the option to do color by elevation, and this here, I don't know what I have my increment set at. You can actually come in here and change it. Looks like I have my interval is 5 feet, so if I change this to every 10 feet and say OK, you'll notice that the point cloud, I bounce out of here, come back, you'll see that the point cloud is a little bit shaded a little bit differently. So if you're looking for elevation drop or some elevation challenges or differences without creating contours, you can come in here to color by elevation, and it'll actually color the point cloud for you. So that can be a different way to look at the point cloud as well. So we'll just go back to true color. And again, the true color is the images that were taken from the SX10, and essentially burn those images to the point cloud so that you can look at this here. If you want to work in just a specific area of the point cloud, which is something that I highly recommend, I think especially early on, it is very difficult to look at a point cloud as an entire project and start drafting from it. So I like to break down how I work with my point cloud. So if I come in here to let's see here, if I come back to my view tab and get a top view of the point cloud. In here there's something called a limit box. What the limit box allows you to do is it allows you just to do exactly what I said. You can limit the area that you're viewing the point cloud, and you can stretch it and make it smaller depending on your area of interest. You can make it smaller. You can actually move the point cloud if you need be, rotate it around. So maybe I'm just interested in working in this curbing right now. So I've limited the area that I'm looking at the point cloud to strictly the curbing. So you can actually move it and get rid of some points that way as well. So this has a couple advantages. One, it'll just kind of let you focus in on an area to work. Two, it's going to allow your computer to work more efficiently because it's not regenning, if you will, all those points every time with your graphics card. So by limiting the points that you're looking at just to the area of your interest, if you will, that's going to allow your computer to work fairly well to work with the point cloud. So that's another useful tool as well. So we'll get out of this here. Close the limit box. So looking at the point cloud itself, you also have the option to pick individual points or draw lines essentially right on top of the point cloud. If you remember, each one of these points has an XYZ coordinate value associated with it. So if I zoom in really tight, each one of these data points here has an XYZ value associated with it. So at the end of the day, we need to extract out the data that's important to create that final deliverable. So by clicking on these individual points, you're going to have a very accurate representation for your deliverable. So if you're going to do that, let's just start off with some points. We're going to come into the CAD tab, and I'm going to go to Create Point. And this box is very similar to if you've created points in TBC in the past. But what they have done with this here is they've added this tool here, which is a point cloud smart pick mode, or smart picking mode, I should say. So let's concentrate on curbing for right now. So I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to make this point identifier. I'm going to make it 100 and I'm going to create a new layer. We'll call it scan points. That way I know what points came from the scan data. And let's see, let's make them orange. Say okay there. And let's call these top of curve. So I can come in here and I can zoom into a point and pick on an actual point. It's going to populate the northeasting and elevations for that point, and I can say add. Oh, I already have it. Oh no, 100 in there. So there we go. And there's the point that I picked. And all I did was I picked specifically on one point, and it created a point. Now, to streamline that process, because there'll be a lot of rotating and moving back and forth to be able to pick that point, what we can do is we can come in here to the Smart Pick tool, and up here in the left, you can do face of curb and gutter. So if I come in here to face of curb, it allows me just to pick anywhere close to the face of curb. So I'm not going to pick directly on it. I'm just going to go close to it. And this validated picking box comes up. And I don't know if you can see that on your screen there, but there's a red X right here. So it knows that I'm looking to pick the top of curb. So what it did was based on the algorithm in Trimble Business Center, it determined where the top face of curb was. And I think it did a really good job here by selecting that. If you decide that it maybe, now, I really want it here, I can simply pick on there. So all this is doing, it's a validation box, and you can move this X around wherever you need it. So I'm going to put it back to where it was. I'm going to say validate. These points here, again, the northeast and elevation will populate, and I can say add, and there's my point. So you can come up here fairly quickly and just validate where the top of curve is, say add, and move your way up the face of curve pretty rapidly. And again, you can do the same for the gutter as well. You come into the gutter, make sure your cursor's in there, and I'm going to pick close to the bottom. And again, you can see that the red plus sign or X right there, and looks pretty good to me. I'm going to say validate and add, and there you go. It's that easy to extract out top of curve and gutter points right from the software. These tools are also available if you're looking to draw lines. If we close this here, if we come into I just want to draw a polyline, we'll just name it here. Create a new layer, call it line work. Make it red. Picked the wrong line work there. There it is. Sorry, it's in the edit line string one. At any rate, again, that's point cloud smart picking mode is there as well. And we'll just do gutter. And come in, I'm going to pick close to the bottom of the gutter. Right there's your X. You did a pretty good job. And I'm going to come up and do the same thing. Again, I think it did pretty good. Looks pretty good. And you can move your way right up to the gutter. I'm going to say new, and now it created that line right along the gutter line. Now that line you can use obviously for your line work, but you can also, because it's a three-dimensional line, you can, if need be, you can write that into your surface as a break line as well. So if you're looking to extract different points out of this point cloud, specific points, it's really that simple. So while we're talking about exporting points, if there's an area that does not have a specific point on it, so the scanner scans, and again, as we mentioned multiple times, it doesn't know exactly what it's scanning. I'm going to come in here to my station view with the images, and I'm going to turn on the point cloud here, okay, which is already on. You can actually see here that you can look at the color-coded intensity right on top of the images if you want. I'm going to come back in here to True Color. You can do the same in here as well. I just want to check something quickly. So as an example, if for some reason I needed a specific point, I needed to locate this vent on this building, probably not a very, probably something that you may or may not need, but I think for this application you understand what we're trying to get at here. I may or may not have a point. You're going to notice I need this corner here, and you can see, if you should be able to see anyway, that there's your points are on here, but I don't have an exact point right at that corner. Down here, you'll notice that there's something called virtual DR. What virtual DR allows you to do is it allows you to extract an XYZ or a northeast elevation coordinate from the image using the point cloud on a single pick. So if anybody's familiar with Trimble Vision, maybe in your S series instrument, your S6 or your S7, by taking images from two stations, you can extract coordinate data. So in that scenario, you would have your S-series instrument set up on station 1, and you would take images. Then you would move your S-series instrument to station 2, and you would take those images again. As long as you saw the same point of interest from both setups, what that would allow you to do is it would allow you to extract coordinate data. Because by knowing the location of the image and by knowing the location of the instrument, you could extract images, but you needed two stations to do it. So how it worked in that scenario was it drew an epipolar line from the instrument through the point that you picked on the image, but it didn't know the distance. So by doing the same in both setups where those two epipolar lines intersected, essentially gave you the coordinate. Here we're going to use the point cloud to determine the distance. So everything else is the same. We know the location of the instrument. We know the location of the image. What we don't know is the distance, but now we have the point cloud. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back in here to CAD. I'm going to come back into Create Points. Let's just make this 1,000, and we'll call it corner of the vent. So I'm going to come in here to the northing, and because I have this virtual DR selected, I'm going to come and I'm going to pick a point in there, and it brings up this box. So where exactly do I need it? So I'm going to pick right there. And you'll notice that it populated a northeast and an elevation, even though I didn't have a survey point, or a scan point, I should say, right at that very location. So it used the image to determine where the point of interest is, but it's using the point cloud to essentially cut off that epipolar line to determine the distance from the scanner to your area of interest. So if I say add, right there you can see there's point number 1,000. So that can be a very beneficial tool, for building corners, certain spots on the sidewalk that you need, a manhole where there's point cloud data crossing the top of a manhole, but maybe you don't have one right in the middle of the manhole. By using this tool, it allows you to extract that point directly right from this tool here. So that I think is a very, very, very beneficial tool. So moving on here, let's check to see if we have any questions before we move on. Okay, it doesn't look like any questions yet. So if you have any questions, please feel free to type those in the chat box there, and we'll get right to them. All right, so let's go back into the 3D view here. And we're going to look at this command, Scan-Cad. What Scan-Cad allows you to do is it allows you to essentially take the point cloud, and it's going to create a node that a third-party CAD software will understand. So I'm going to pick the point cloud again. So you can see it picked the ground. And again, I'm going to do some spatial sampling on here. And I'm going to do, just so it's different, I'm going to do every 2.5 feet. Create a new layer, and we'll just call it ground nodes. Let's make them, so we got red, try yellow. Say okay. I'm going to say apply. So now you'll notice here that these yellow points are now all X nodes that have XYZ values associated with them. So why is this important? Maybe you're scanning a parking lot or something where you need fairly tight contours on. Your CAD program maybe is a few years old, whatever the case may be, that does not allow the inception of a point cloud, which we'll talk about how to get a point cloud out of here in a minute. But what this does is all it did was it created point cloud nodes from the point cloud that has an XYZ coordinate values to it. Essentially, it created a point on the point cloud based on the spacing of 2.5 feet that I gave it. So if need be, you can come in here and you can actually export either a DWG or even a custom, just a point northeast elevation and description, and you can select by layer. And the layer I'm going to select is ground nodes. So in that few seconds, it extracted almost 1,400 points, and I'm going to export this out as a CSV file. And I'm just going to, I guess we can leave it in this folder here. I'm going to say save and export. So if I go into that folder, so right now here's the CSV file that was created with the point number column. Let's close this so it's a little bigger. So it left what typically would be your point number column, it left that blank, but you have your north, your east, and your elevation columns. And now you can add a description. So your description simply can be ground, and you can drag this all the way down if you want, and then you can also drag your numbers here. And you can have Excel or whatever program number these, and then you can import them into your CAD program. And from those points, it's business as usual, because surveyors are very used to dealing with points. So here's an easy way to get points out, to create a tin mesh without just extracting from the point cloud and getting it out to create that tin. So if you're doing volumes or something like that, this could be a very easy way to extract points out. Not using the point cloud, using the point cloud to generate the points, but not actually putting the point cloud into that third-party software. You can extract these points out very easily. So that's another method that you can use to work with the points to get that desired deliverable that you're looking for. So what if you want to take the point cloud and you want to put it in that third-party software, your AutoCAD product or what have you? You have a couple options. You can actually select the point cloud. So let me turn a few things off here just to get ready for this. So what if I wanted to take this point cloud as is and export it out to another program. It could be Trimble RealWorks, which is Trimble's scanning software. Incidentally, this job file that we brought in here at the beginning of the seminar today can also be brought into Trimble RealWorks. But maybe you're going to take it into Civil 3D, a variety of Bentley products, Carlson with the CAD package or whatever. So how can I do that? If you come in here to the home screen and you say export, it's going to give you options. There's actually a whole tab dedicated to exporting out the point cloud so that you can bring it into that other piece of software. So you have an E57 and LAS file format. Those file formats are probably the most recognized by the most amount pieces of software. They're pretty much industry standard. You also have a PTS and a PTX file exporter, which, as I understand, will go into maybe like a Cyclone product. You also you can actually export out here an RCP file, which is a recap file. AutoCAD uses a recap file to bring into Civil 3D, Revit, Inventor, whatever Autodesk product you have. The RCP file is that file that you can use that. So it will actually be a direct export right into that product. The only caveat with that RCP file is that you need to have your Autodesk products loaded on that machine or that server, or recap, which I do not on this machine, so I won't export that recap file, but that's certainly in here, and you can see it's right here. So I'm just going to export out an E57 file format. So by selecting an E57, and it's going to, right here is the file name that it's going to give it. I can come in here and just say select all. So it's going to select the entire project. It's going to select the baseline vectors that I have. It's going to select the lines that I drew. It's going to select the points. It's smart enough to weed those out so you don't have to go and meticulously pick each point cloud after you created your regions. So you can see it's selected 78 objects. Most of them are not the point cloud, but it will just export those out. You can change you have your units here to meters, and I believe if you do it in LAS, it'll actually allow you to do US feet or US survey feet, international foot, or meters. So maybe we'll just export out that. This here, let's see, just so I can find it again. So we're going to save it in that SX10 folder. I'm going to say export. So that quickly it exported that file, and now right here is your LAS file format, and the size of that is 31 megs, which for a point cloud is very small. If you're not familiar with point clouds, these file sizes can get very, very, very large. But this here, Trimble Business Center, I think, does an excellent job of keeping those file sizes down. So here's your LAS file format that can then be imported into Recap or your Autodesk products or whatever that third-party software is. If we just take a look at the cell tower project that we have here, if I look at this cell tower files, which contains, again, all the images that were taken from the SX10 as well as all the different scans that were taken, if we take a look at that project, we take a look at the file size of this here, it's 100 megs. Which is a very, very small file size considering how many points from the point cloud are in that one file. So I think Trimble Business Center does a very, very good job of keeping those file sizes manageable, which in turn will make your not needing quite the machine that you maybe once needed to work with point clouds. So as true to all our other Keystone webinars, we try to keep them to about 45 minutes just to kind of give you a breadth of what's available what's available out there as far as what some of these things can do. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to email myself. I'll bring that up here. My email address is kfrontheiser@keypre.com if you have any additional questions, or you can simply email sales@keypre.com to kind of get a broader view if you're not in the Pennsylvania region, but looking for some additional help with or questions concerning the SX10 or Trimble Business Center. Next month, the last Tuesday of next month, we will be diving in and taking a look at the Trimble MX7, which is a mobile mapping unit that takes imagery only that you can extract data from. So we'll be taking a look at that. And in upcoming ones, we'll also be taking a look at the new Trimble TSC7, which was just released last week as well. So again, if you have any questions, Ken Frunheiser at keypre.com or sales@keypre.com, and look forward to seeing everybody next month. Have a great day.